we destroyed our... Yeah, you weren't even there. I come home one day and I'm like, yeah, I screwed up. I hit a rock. You really, really don't need a lot to get started. I mean, you can go camping by foot. You don't even need a car. But if I could, or if I
don't understand that. You said hiking and camping.
I know.
Without a vehicle.
What a bizarre concept. I can't believe people do that. I know.
You can carry your stuff on your back.
Like, do people not realize that we invented the wheel ages ago?
Have they not seen this body? I am not made for hiking and camping.
It takes a lot of effort to maintain my structure. A lot of bacon.
Warning. The 4x4 Canada podcast contains discussion about exploring mountains, camping beside lakes, and enjoying the outdoors. Guests also talk about jumping race trucks side by side, racing 1,000 horsepower rigs across mud pits, and jumping monster trucks over stacks of buses. None of this is for the faint of heart. The 4x4 Canada podcast is not responsible for bringing out your inner adrenaline junkie or making you want to get out there and explore the back roads from coast to coast. The 4x4 Canada podcast is not responsible for broken parts due to jumping your vehicle, hitting mud poles too hard, crossing deep streams, and doing other dumb shit. However, we will take credit for inspiring you to explore mountaintops, spend quality time outdoors with your friends, or meeting new like-minded people, and most importantly of all, following your dreams. Welcome to the 4x4 Canada podcast. I'm your host, Wes.
Hi, my name is Anzal.
Hi, I'm Allison.
And we're with the Cascadia Overland Crew.
Great. And I know Folky's around there as well, too, your dog. And
yeah, Floki's around. He's hopping around and doing his thing.
So, first of all, I want to thank you guys for coming on board.
Thank you so much for having us.
Anzal and Allison have been watching you guys on the Cascadia Overland Crew on YouTube for a while. You got to check out the YouTube channel by the same name. And I've been following you guys for a few years. And I first came across your Farewell Canyon and Shukolton series and just absolutely loved that. It was a combination of some nice vehicles, nice people, good drone shots, and that's where I started following you guys. And I've been enjoying watching your channel grow and improve ever since then. So it's been excited to get you guys on board. Been hoping to get you guys on here for a while. So
yeah, that was a fun trip. So we're glad you liked it and that other people have as well. And we're excited to be here with you tonight.
Yeah,
awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. It's going to be a fun one. I can guarantee you that. So before we get too far into Cascadia Overland Crew and you guys and your lives and your 4Runner and your explorations, I do just want to remind the listeners that if you do enjoy the podcast, to subscribe to it on your favorite podcast app, as well as give us a quick review. And I really appreciate that. It helps us on our side of it with being able to get the word out to more people as well. And also remember to share it with your friends. Check us out on Instagram at 4x4 Canada Podcast, as well as on Facebook. And we're doing a little bit of YouTube. We're going to be doing some more product reviews on YouTube coming up here as well, too. So check out our YouTube channel. And Instagram seems to be where we do a lot of our promo stuff. So check us out there, 4x4 Canada Podcast. And remember to click subscribe and like and all that other stuff. So Anzal and Allison, Cascadia Overland Crew. Before we get into the YouTube channel, before we get into the 4Runner and all your exciting travels, let's learn a little bit more about you guys. Did you grow up in camping and four-wheeling families, or is this something that happened when you discovered each other?
Well, we're both from out east. I'm from Quebec, and I have been camping, as a kid and with my family. Anzal, not so much. He grew up in Ontario, but we really got into doing this kind of adventuring together when we moved to BC. It's a great way to hang out.
You guys met over in Ontario?
We actually met in Quebec. Yeah, we both went to university there. And we moved to BC together right after we graduated in 2014. So we really started camping adventures together in around, I would say, 2014-ish. Prior to that, in Ontario, near Toronto area, it's so much city. When you get out of Toronto, there's more, lake country and whatnot, a little bit north. Ontario.
Muskoka.
Muskoka is gorgeous and there's lots to see and do. But I mean, British Columbia is British Columbia.
It's funny. Unfortunately, my co-host Trisha is not available here tonight. She might pop on a little bit later on. She's actually stuck in the famous Toronto traffic right now. So hopefully she pops on later on. But I always bug her that she lives on the wrong side of the Rockies. Basically, anything past the Rockies is the wrong side of the Rockies.
Yeah, pretty much.
I agree. I mean, yeah, Ontario was not fantastic for that stuff. Whereas in Quebec, I did a little bit of hunting and stuff there. So Quebec was slightly better where we were, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But, we were students. We were in university. We weren't doing a whole bunch of that stuff. I also spent quite a bit of time in the Northwest Territories and Yellowknife, and I did a lot of hunting and fishing there. So that was a very exciting part of my life.
Yeah, that's an area I want to get into for sure. Northwest Territories, Yukon is just absolutely beautiful to me. And I have to admit, I keep on saying it all the time, but all of Canada is beautiful, right? So Quebec is absolutely gorgeous. Northern Ontario is gorgeous. The armpit of Ontario called Scarborough is not quite so beautiful, but it's...
I grew up in
Hamilton?
Scarborough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I grew up in Scarborough, and it is definitely the armpit of Canada.
but overall, Canada is a beautiful country, right? I mean, you got the East Coast,
for sure.
Even as much as I make fun of Saskatchewan for the wheat fields, northern Saskatchewan is absolutely beautiful. Great fishing up there, tons of lakes, and
definitely. It's funny you bring up northern Saskatchewan. One of my favorite TV shows is Alone, and the current season, I think they're on season 10 now. That's right now in northern Saskatchewan, and some beautiful lake country, and it actually reminds me a lot of the Northwest Territories, just with the barren and bare rocks around the lakes. It's gorgeous, and really, really great pike fishing and. Yeah, it's my kind of jam.
Yeah, I would like to get up there and explore some more for sure. So we quickly got off topic. That's my fault. Sorry about that. But so you guys moved to BC and started camping a bit more. And were you mostly sticking around the Lower Mainland at that point?
Yeah, we were more local. It was a great way to hang out with friends, especially ones that we didn't have trucks, and you're going out on a Friday after work. So where can you get to that's within a couple hour drive? So at the time we had a RAV4 that was great for soft roading, but a lot of our friends had Corollas and, things like that.
Mazda 3s. Yeah. So many of them had Mazda 3s at that time.
So not the same clearance and stuff. So lots of paid campgrounds and that kind of stuff.
Which there's nothing wrong with that either, right? It's just, I find there's more people there and you don't get to see as much of the beautiful province without a 4x4. So, but I mean, if that's all you got, then rock it, right? So
absolutely. My philosophy is just anytime you get out into nature, however you do it, it's a day well spent.
Yeah.
I guess the primary reason for having a more built up vehicle, for me at least, and for us, is really just to be able to through obstacles and farther away. Whereas, I think our next vehicle will probably be less built up, primarily for gas purposes. Hopefully it'll be a hybrid. I don't know. Maybe. But that you can still do a lot. There are soft roading type vehicles like a RAV4 that people put all-terrain tires on and even a little bit of a lift kit. And that allows them to go on forest roads a lot farther out than you would on like a paid campsite.
Yeah. We did an episode back in around Christmas time, I think it was, with the guys from Flat 4 Off-Road in Calgary. And they specialize in doing up Subarus and doing little lift kits on them and, a couple inches or whatever and little taller tires and racks and all that. And you watch the videos of Flat 4 and other Subaru owners and they're quite capable little rigs.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we take our 4Runner to some ridiculous places, but sometimes we get out there and you see a Subaru Outback that's like barely got a lift kit on it. And you're like, why am I so overbuilt? I mean, we're not rock crawling or anything. And I know we can get into talking about the 4Runner a little bit more, but the purpose of our 4Runner isn't to go rock crawling. Right? It's really a long haul vehicle and we do long trips. Like we go away for weeks and lots and lots of kilometers and miles covered within one day. So it really allows us to be very comfortable on the road and also be very comfortable, 1,000 kilometers away from home and not having to worry about a breakdown. I mean, you can take a Toyota Corolla off-roading if you want, and it'll be capable in one way. It just, how much damage are you willing to sustain, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right. They're very capable. I mean, I've been with somebody and we've gone up to Cornwall and he's gone up in a Subaru up to Cornwall Fire Lookout and stuff like that.
Mhm.
They are quite capable. Your vehicle's not super modified in regards to, 38s and stuff like that. And same with my Tacoma, it's not super modified either, but it gets me pretty much everywhere I want to go, right? So
Yep.
I think you've talked about it in one of your videos recently that you got to know where the limits are of your vehicle. And if you got to turn around, you do that. And there's nothing wrong with turning around. And there's nothing wrong with getting a tug either, right? For the most of the stuff that, a lot of people seem to do, a mildly modified vehicle is perfect. So what brought on the Cascadia Overland Crew to the YouTube world?
Well, let me first talk about the name Cascadia Overland Crew. So our channel was actually originally called something else that had our names in it. And then we realized it was a little bit too mom and pop type personal names, So we kind of wanted to make it a little bit more open. Maybe Allison can tell you more about how we got into YouTube, but just the name in itself, we were thinking, we love Cascadia and the region is our favorite place in the world. So Cascadia Overland kind of just went together, but we added the crew part because we didn't want Cascadia Overland as like a very commercial name. When you say Cascadia Overland, it seems like a name of a shop or the name of a company, whereas this just really was like the people that we hang out with, our friends and us, mostly just us. I mean, the past couple of seasons have just been us, and that's been awesome. But Allison, maybe you can talk a little bit more about how we got into making videos.
Yeah, well, I guess we've always been into photography, videography, filming things, taking a lot of photos on adventures. And then this was just kind of the next natural progression that you just try something else and you edit something. And now you find, again, all the editing tools where you can make this better or bigger or more or all of those things. And next thing you know, you're sharing it with family and friends, and next thing you're posting it on YouTube to get it out there. And all of a sudden you have a channel and subscribers, and here we go.
It is a very slippery slope, how you put something on your vehicle and then you just keep adding to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. Like I've always been into photography. Allison got into videography and photography. And then one thing led to another. And it's like, you know what? Let's just publicly post these to YouTube and see what happens.
And here you are. Well, it's interesting because especially living far away from your family, right? I mean, I assume most of your family's out east.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, both of our families aren't.
So it makes it easier. Like I know I lived in Toronto for 10 years and all my family's back here. And it just makes it easier sometimes to chronicle your adventures and what you're doing and stuff like that, right? So I know that my mom and dad loved seeing the videos and photos that I would post up on Facebook or wherever it was at that time. And so here's a question for you. What do your parents think about your adventures? They like your videos, or they
they do. They love them. I think between my mom and dad and your mom and dad, those are our biggest fans. I know They're waiting for every episode to come out week to week, and they love hearing about it. And I don't think they like waiting as much to watch each episode weekly. Where it's like, well, what happened, and where did you guys go? And here it is. We get back into cell phone reception, and it's like, where were you guys all weekend? It's like, we were out camping.
Wonderful when your parents are your biggest fans. I totally hear you on that with my parents as well too. So that's great, getting that support, right? So speaking of the YouTube stuff, what are you guys using for cameras?
So the primary camera we use is a Nikon Z5, which is a full frame mirrorless camera. If anybody ever asks me for a camera recommendation, I always say, make sure it's full frame and make sure it's mirrorless, because that's just technology, right?
Yeah.
So that's a fantastic camera. I mean, I know there's some criticism about Nikon's video quality, but we found it to be pretty good. I mean, it records 4K quite well at 30 frames a second. I believe it does 60 FPS, maybe at 1080p. I think so.
But for
It's pretty good
YouTube,
as a primary camera.
as a YouTube camera, that's pretty good because in reality, a lot of people are not going to be looking at it on a full screen, right? So,
Yeah, that is kind of unfortunate because we record on this good camera in 4K quality. I edit in 4K quality,
Yep.
I upload in 4K quality, and when I watch it, I'm watching on this like big screen 4K TV.
Yep.
And it kind of breaks my heart that people are watching it on a
yeah.
But that's just the reality, right? Majority of the people do watch these videos on smartphones. I do think that on bigger channels, so people who have way more subscribers than we do, I think I've spoken to a couple of people and, they do mention that the ratio does change as people start to realize that, oh, this is good quality TV that I should be watching on a TV. So, as YouTube channels get bigger, I think more and more dedicated subscribers start watching it on TV.
And I think as the technology has come along where almost everybody has a smart TV now, right? So I honestly, to be honest, I never really think about watching YouTube on TV. I always just hop on my laptop or sometimes onto my phone, but usually on my laptop. Right. And it's something that I think things will change over time. It'll come for sure. So
yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think the video quality has gotten so good, and what YouTube, used to be a few years ago. And then obviously when YouTube started, it was just camera phone videos, right? That was the whole point. Whereas now it's more the better quality videos tend to succeed more on this kind of platform, whereas the TikTok type videos or, the short form vertical videos are succeeding a lot on Instagram. Now YouTube also has, what are they called? YouTube Shorts, I think they're called.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so those are big as well now. But I find that in, this format, good quality is very key, because if somebody does watch a video, even on your smartphone, like the smartphone screens now are so good that you need good quality video because you can really tell the difference.
Do you guys do much with your Instagram? Do you guys post a lot of like reels and that on your Instagram?
We're getting more into reels. We definitely have lots of photos, and we definitely like posting things. Sometimes it's hard to just seems to keep up with all of the content, and how many photos of the 4Runner do you want to see versus photos of views versus everything. So, but there's a lot of content on there, and
I did forget to mention that at the beginning, so I do apologize. Cascadia Overland Crew on Instagram as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key difference between us and some of the other bigger channels and people is that we're really, we do this as a hobby. It's not an occupation or a job. So we don't do this full time. So yeah, posting on Instagram every day is not the easiest thing.
Yeah.
If one day we were to get more into it and make it into a job, I think we would definitely be spending way more time on Instagram.
Yeah. I find it difficult from I don't know if I'd really call myself a creator, but with the podcast and trying to find time to post on Instagram or Facebook and stuff like that. And I've had a few people tell me you got to post more reels, and more reels have been working out really well for us on Instagram. But that's where my co-host Trisha, she's come aboard and she's really good at the social media stuff, especially the Instagram. And whereas I'm a bit more old school, and it's like, oh yeah, I should post something. I haven't posted in like a week kind of idea, right? So
well, a lot of like the camp, like the hobby side of like that camping part is going out and getting off your phone and not being on social media and relaxing. and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, I need to take 600 photos to post on my Instagram when I get home. Yeah. And then you spend, all your evenings all week just staring at your phone as you focus on the social media. Yeah. And then, living for those weekends in the woods.
Exactly.
It's a full-time job, right? Like people do marketing and social media management for a living, and I don't. So if I were to become a full-time YouTuber or, content creator, whatever in whichever way you want it to be,
I'd hire a team to do that then for me.
Yeah, I would probably hire somebody to do a little bit of marketing for me, because I have to admit, I love going out there and making videos and taking photos. Yep. I love editing. I love uploading. What I personally don't like is marketing. I don't like sharing and being like, hey, check out my video. Like, I just want to make the video and I want to upload it.
And I want
Yeah.
people to watch it.
Just automatically,
But that
right?
gap, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just trying to fill that gap between like, okay, I made a video and now you have to watch it, but I'm not going to tell you about it.
Yeah, and I get that for sure. So you mentioned the editing. What are you using for an editing program?
Well, there's only two big programs out there.
Yep.
I started with DaVinci and then I moved to Premiere. So Adobe
Interesting.
Premiere is the go-to software. Yeah.
A lot of people are going the other way.
I know. And I can't. I started with DaVinci and as soon as I migrated to Premiere, it
Yep.
was like a light bulb moment of, oh, this is the industry standard. You know, like
It works for you.
Yeah. And I think they have similar workflows and similar tools,
Yep.
but I think it's just a matter of preference. And I find Premiere to be a lot more user-friendly, a lot easier. But I also know that Premiere costs a lot of money if you're spending money on it.
Yeah. There's pros and cons to it. I've used DaVinci, and I know a lot of that people do, but it's what works for you, right? You know,
Yeah,
if
definitely.
if it's more suited to you to go with the Adobe, then that works. So, but that's interesting. So I just totally lost my train of thought. Good thing I can edit this out. So it seems like you guys, I like how you guys do seasons, like, you know, the two Colton seasons, or you guys had another season in between there. And then now you've got a new series with some videos around Kamloops and that. How come you decide to go with seasons and instead of just banging them out, you know, not consistently, but
You can say
I guess.
consistently.
Yeah, I guess consistently. Yeah. You know what I'm trying to say.
Well, I guess we're just not going out consistently. We couldn't make that promise of, okay, we're going to go out this weekend and then release a video right after and then go out
Yep.
the following weekend. It was like, well, what if something comes up and, you know, what if we miss a week? How do we keep everybody engaged and watching? I don't want to promise there's going to be a video every week when there's just not, because we're not
There's
sure.
life.
Yeah. And every time we go out, we just don't know how many episodes we're going to get or what we're going to do with this. You just
Yep.
record all the footage you can, come home and edit it and see what it works out as.
Yeah. And like we're people, right, with lives and work and stuff. So making and releasing them in seasons is way more logical. And I mean, we do tons of camping outside of what people see on
Mhm.
YouTube, right?
Yep.
We're always, every weekend, you know, we were out there in the summers at least. So there's a lot more camping that we do that we don't record because, again, you're going into nature to disconnect from technology. And as much as I love videography and Allison loves videography, it's just that piece of it is important to also kind of get away. Now, I think, and I think I know this, I can say very confidently that if somebody's trying to be successful on YouTube, I think being consistent is a very key aspect of it. When you're releasing videos on a weekly basis, people are far more likely to click the subscribe button. Whereas when you take a break, for example, the engagement will definitely see a decrease. So if we were to expand it, I think being more consistent on a weekly basis makes more sense.
But I get it. You guys also have a life outside of YouTube and you enjoy it. I do know a lot of people that are on YouTube, and that's one of the issues that some of the people are struggling with. Is like, yeah, I got to do, you know, an episode every 2 weeks or something like that. It's like, but I've got a wedding coming up and I've got family reunion coming up and my dog got sick and life just gets in the way, right? And there's a lot of people really struggling to do the content every week or every 2 weeks. And so I totally get that. I kind of like the seasons. I mean, yeah, I didn't see you guys for a bit and then all of a sudden popped on and it's like, okay, season, 4 or whatever you're on now at 5. And it's like, okay, now we can get some consistency in there. And I'm looking forward to it coming out every, 2 weeks or whatever it was coming out. And checked yesterday and I checked today and I still didn't see that last one.
That last video is coming out maybe tomorrow. It's been very, very busy. So that last video of the season 5, it's coming out. Yeah.
Well, hopefully it'll be out by the time this episode comes out. We're going to be looking at coming out on August 10th. So that is your deadline.
I think we can do that. We got 10 days.
Yeah.
That is a fair deadline. Yeah. Thank you.
So I gotta hold you liable here, right? So
yeah. Well, we were releasing those episodes on a weekly basis. And then, life throws a wrench at you. So it's the last episode. You know what? We're doing it deliberately, Wes. We're building excitement, and it's the mystery of, did we ever make it down to the lake? And
exactly right. It's in my backyard, and I'm like, okay, I can't wait for the next video to come out, and I know exactly where they are. And you guys did Greenstone, and then you hopped over to the other side of the lake, and I'm like, okay, great, and then it's like 2 weeks later, and I'm like, where is it?
I know. I apologize. But you know what? I might end up spoiling this a little bit for you. But when we were there, it was a solid 32 degrees that day that we wanted to get down to the lake. It was horrible. And we were at that point, imagine us in the scorching heat. There's no trees there.
There's nothing.
Scorching heat, and it's 32 degrees. You can't have a fire. And you're just sweating. And the dog, especially, he can jump in the lake and he drinks water. But at a certain point, you as a human being can't stay in that heat any longer.
Yeah.
Right? You want to sit in your car in the AC, or you want to get home and sit in air conditioning. So I'm spoiling it a little bit for you as to where we ended up after that. But we were in rough condition after a couple of days in that heat. So we escaped.
No, I get that, especially living here. I know what that heat's like. Just the other week, we got up to like 35, 36, and I'm like, I'm not going camping this weekend. It's not worth it. Right?
It's not worth it. Yeah.
It's just disgusting. So one of the things I've noticed on this season 5 compared to your other seasons is you're taking a bit more time to explain things, like about your recent rooftop tent video. And, you've explained a couple other things about why you're taking this line, or a couple of things like that. And so many videos are out there, just drone shots and attempts at drama, where I think that you're explaining stuff lately. I've actually been quite enjoying them, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are new people, and the way you're explaining things and your point of view makes sense. And I have to commend you on that. I actually really like the little bit of explanations in some of the videos.
Thanks. That's great feedback. It's good to know that stuff. What's working for the audience, what's not. I think we just, again, kind of do that naturally, that we feel like past seasons or past episodes, or even sometimes on that trip where, oh my God, we've got so many of the same road shot, driving shot. What else can we talk about? What haven't we spoken about? Like, let's talk about the tent. Let's talk about our camping setup. Let's talk about the dog today. Like, there's so many different things that you feel. Sometimes it starts to feel repetitive when you're out there on the trip, where you're like, okay, I've gotten out of the car 100 times to film it, doing this and doing that. And you're like, is that enough? Is that different enough? What else can we talk about and say? And again, a lot of our audience, I guess, and a lot of our friends and people that we speak to outside of that sort of camping world are always asking us those types of questions. And it's easy when you're out there and you're all set up to just talk about it and give everyone a rundown. And maybe they watch the video, maybe they don't, but
yeah. You know what the number one question we get asked is? It's, how do you go to the bathroom? It is a valid question, man. Honestly, it's a very valid question.
I want to get into it, but what do you do? There's no toilets. How does that work?
Yeah, or like
you got to keep
a roof. Yeah, absolutely. I think Allison did make a video about using an outdoor toilet, I guess, at one point, but I think it's a bit much. But it's interesting you mentioned, the drama aspect of it, and from a YouTube and Instagram point of view, I think the most engaging content is dramatic in some sort of way.
Yep.
And whether there's a lot of videos that we watch are real things that happen, but there are times where there's some like fabricated drama and whatnot. And that's, you're watching content, you're watching videos, you're watching TV. So, even some fabricated drama, I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it, as long as you're not doing anything stupid. Whereas for us, it's just, I don't know. I feel like we're not doing this very professionally in a lot of ways. So we're just not dramatic people. So even the natural drama that happens in a video of ours, like, oh shit, we hit a rock or something.
Because it happens.
It's because oops, I hit a rock, or, oh, I can't see something ahead of me because my approach angle sucks and I'm a little stressed out about it. That like stress factor is not me like acting like I'm stressed. Allison will laugh at me because I swear a lot when I'm doing this kind of stuff. Because I'm like, oh shit, I can't see anything in front of me. And she's like, there's no rock in front of you. And I'm like, yeah, but I saw a rock like a minute ago. Oh God.
Yeah, I think the drama aspect, you're right. It's the most what draws people to it. But I think a lot of the drama is natural in a lot of videos, but a lot of people do play it up as well too. Right. Having, a little bit more dramatic music to it and stuff like that. And it works well for a lot of people, but there's just something about you guys that I love. Like, you're just an average couple out there exploring, having fun. You're a cute couple. Like, it's just, you guys are enjoying life and just having fun, and you guys and your dogs. And I think a lot of people can relate to it, is sort of where I'm going with that. Right. So.
Yeah. And I think that's the point. I mean, if we can inspire one person or help someone see that, hey, this is an awesome way of doing it. And we, a lot of people are just a normal couple and they want to go out and camp and go overlanding. I think that relatability is quite awesome. Whereas a lot of other channels, I think there's a lot to be like, you're aspiring towards something that, oh, cool, I want that vehicle, or like I could be doing XYZ thing.
Or it's a very like niche market of, I have a truck that can do that, or something like that.
Yeah. So I think that relatability is definitely a nice thing to have, though it doesn't end up, going viral. That's to be expected. We're not, jumping our 4Runner over a flaming ring.
Why not?
I bet you that would get some views.
Yeah. That'd be a great screenshot, or that'd be a great, shot for the front of the video, right? Like, you guys got to work on it, right? You got to get your, up your game.
We got to get we got to up our game, get some flaming rings and torches.
You got to go talk to Colin over overlanding. He loves his fire.
I watch those videos.
Well, one of the issues too was that this has been our daily driver for such a long time. But you're also worried of like, well, I got to get home and I got to get to work tomorrow. So avoiding the fire.
I hear you.
It's funny you mentioned overlanding overland. It's we're talking about the drama and the exaggeration. I love that guy's channel. It's you know what? It's doing the same thing a lot of the other bigger YouTube channels are doing, but just in a more real, sarcastic and funny way.
He's mocking overlanding when he's overlanding, right? Like, it's just, I know. I find him really funny. So he's really, really good guy. Somebody wanted to start a YouTube channel. What advice would you give them?
Don't.
Should have started 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. In all honesty, like we are very open and cognizant of the fact that we are doing this as a hobby. Sometimes people get into it very seriously and spend time and money really, into something that's I think people who get successful on YouTube are successful and they're fantastic. But it's just like any other thing that you're trying to be a celebrity or get famous or be successful in. The chances are low, in my opinion. There's hundreds of channels that are created every day, thousands and thousands of videos uploaded every day. So I think if you're going to do it as a hobby, sticking to it as a hobby is a good idea. Whereas if you're doing it more seriously, then I think consistency is key. If you upload on a weekly basis, even if you're uploading content that's, in my view, not fantastic, you will still get more views than somebody who's not posting consistently.
I think that like setting realistic goals. What do you want to get out of your channel? And then working towards that. Do you want to do this for fun? Do you want to do this to make money? Do you want to do this to become a celebrity? Like, what are your goals? And realistically, how do you achieve those? Most people aren't going to hit it big on YouTube and like, yeah, okay, that's my job. I'm a YouTuber. There's very few people realistically that can do that and make a successful living wage off of doing that.
Yeah.
So working towards something that's realistic. Okay, I just want to reach this many people or share this content, and finding that niche and knowing who you're trying to reach with your videos and focusing.
Yeah. I think there's tons of talent and tons of luck at the right time involved.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
some people hit it big because of luck, because, you know, it was just, it hit it at the right time and the right content and the right medium. Some people are just very, very talented. They know exactly what their audience wants to see, when they want to see it. And, you know, but I guess one thing that I've really, really learned is to not, if I'm not going to take it too seriously, to not take it too seriously. You know, I'm not going to go spend $1,000 on a drone just for my YouTube channel. I have a drone because I love drone photography and videography and flying drones as a hobby, as compared to, okay, so here's one thing. I don't have a GoPro. Okay.
Okay.
And in overlanding videos, a GoPro camera is a fundamental tool.
Very
But
much.
I don't, yeah, very much so. You know, all those dash cam shots are shot with a GoPro. People strap them on their chest, people strap it, whatever they do. My point is, I don't have one, because in my view, the only reason for me to get a GoPro would be for the YouTube channel. And at this point, still, I refuse to spend money just on the YouTube channel. Whereas I think the drone is different. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I think, I mean, you guys are doing quite well with your channel. I mean, you're up over 2,300 subscribers. So I think you guys are doing quite well with that. But I agree that it's a certain amount of, a lot of people underestimate how much time and effort it takes to get up to the point that you guys are, right? I mean, 2,300 is, I mean, 1,000 subscribers is where you need to get, you know, monetized, right? And a lot of people don't realize how hard it is to even get to the 1,000. And then you guys are sitting at the 2,300 mark, and it's a lot harder than a lot of people realize.
And you also have to think about that actual number where you're aiming for like 1,000 people to watch your video so that you can get monetized. And it's actually kind of scary to think that like you said, 2,300 separate YouTube accounts are subscribed and people that are watching us. And that's like, what? I don't know 2,300 people. Like, I've never spoken to a group of 2,300 people. Like, that's an insane amount. So just, you know, focusing on that and enjoying that, yeah, it's not millions of people, but it's 300 separate people that have taken the time to watch a video and hit subscribe.
If you think about it, like as Allison said, you know, some of the YouTube channels are quite big, and we're definitely one of the smallest ones, according to people that we follow, at least. But realistically, that is still a lot of people. Put all those people, you know, in a house or stadium, and you won't be able to fit them in a house.
That's exactly. I was reading an article about podcasting, and somebody's mentioned the same thing. They're like, actually, I think it might have even been a question on Facebook or something like that. And somebody said, you know, I'm only getting, you know, each list or each episode, I'm only getting, say, 200 views or 500 views or whatever downloads. And the person says, yeah, but put all those people into one room. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. Yeah. No, YouTube is a funny beast, though. I mean, you can put as much or as little effort into it as you want, and you will probably see results proportionate to that. Like, I find even video quality. So I don't think people actually realize how much effort and time goes into editing one video. You spend hours recording, let alone editing, color grading, audio sync. Oh, good Lord. Like, it just takes forever. Doing it as a hobby is a great idea. I love it as a hobby. If I were to do it professionally, I would love it. Absolutely. You know, if you told me that, hey, Anzal, you can go out every week and you can go camping and overlanding and you can make videos and become, you know, I'm not even saying wealthy, rich. If I could just replace my full-time job with this as a full-time job, I would do it.
Yep. But that's one thing that you guys, I mean, you guys haven't really even approached the making money on it, right? You don't have really much for advertising on your videos in regards to products or partners or anything like that. And even though you could, but I mean, that's a whole nother step, right? So,
and you get approached. What's funny is I think, you know, 2,300 subscribers is realistically very small in the YouTube world, but you still get constantly approached by brands saying, hey, will you do a video for us or post this on your Instagram? And I'm like, no. We have partnered with a couple of people. So you'll see one of our videos is with Blue Eddie.
Yep.
What's interesting is I was going to buy one regardless of whether they were going to sponsor the video or not. And then they did, and I was very excited about it because that is a product that I truly believe in, and mostly not because they have good customer service, because they really don't. They don't. What they do have is a specific chemistry of battery that they use that I think is just a superior product, right?
Yeah.
Coastal Off-Road, for example, is their 5 to 10 minute drive from my home. They're a local company and they make good products for a relatively cheap price. So I'm happy to work with that company. Whereas, I get so many emails and Instagram messages about sunglasses or lights, off-road lights that I'm like, I know for a fact that is not a good product. So what am I supposed to do with that? Right. So.
Yeah. And as we said earlier, we're doing this and, the point of this was to share it with friends and family and do that on a more personal level. And so our goal wasn't to overload things with ads and sponsorships and, get this product or that product. When we're talking about those products, it's because we genuinely like them and use them and are using them and would recommend them to somebody. It's not about the recommendation as much as it is like, okay, if you need a camping stove, this is the one we use. We like it. Go get it.
And that's what I find that, you guys seem to be genuine people. So if there is something that you guys do recommend, it's actually something that I do take to heart. Right. Because I can tell that you are people that are not going to recommend something just because somebody wanted to give it to you for free or you get a kickback on it or whatever. And I think that's a key, is keeping that genuine feeling kind of idea, right? For lack of better terms.
Yeah. And, we're very lucky and #blessed in that we both have good jobs and we both make good money. So for a lack of, trying to make money off of your friends, your family, and your, I guess, viewers, for a lack of better word, absolutely. When somebody clicks an affiliate link that I post, I get a kickback out of it. Mm-hmm. But that is an item that you will find in my toolkit,
Right.
And I can show it to you, and I only recommend that product because I use it. The light bar on our 4Runner is the cheapest light bar, and it is the best light bar, period. And we have abused the heck out of it with rain, rocks, everything. There is zero condensation in it. Like 3 years later, it costs less than $100, and that is the product that I recommend. Because I could definitely recommend the $600 light bar and make more money off of it, but why? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. So let's hop into your rig. That's something we actually haven't talked about yet. It's a 4Runner, and it's a V8 4Runner, right?
It is, yeah. So Allison's going to be a little quiet here because even though Allison's done a lot of work on it with me, but I guess I'm the car guy. It's funny, I'll get into the lift, but I have a funny story about that.
I know that it's lift. Silver.
It drives nice.
Yeah. We actually, not argue, but we have heated discussions about who gets to drive because we both enjoy driving so much. But yeah, as you said, it's a 2003 Toyota 4Runner. It's a V8 engine with less than about 260,000 kilometers on it. I don't know what that is in miles, but anyways. And for anybody American listening in Canada, our 4th Gen 4Runners only come in 4-wheel drive. So the V6 models have an option to switch to 2-wheel drive, and the V8 models, the limited versions, come with full-time 4-wheel drive. So there is no 2-wheel drive 4Runners that were manufactured for use in Canada. We put a Thule Tepui rooftop tent on it. A friend actually gifted that to us, so that was a very generous gift. Yeah. And they'd used it and then they passed it on, and it was really, really kind of them. But Allison made a new memory foam mattress for it, got a new cover for it, cleaned it and everything. That was really nice. On the inside, one of Allison's favorite things is the head unit. So there's a Sony XAV 55,000 head unit in it. So that's got, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, touchscreen, probably one of the more expensive head units out there, but it's it's like a smartphone in terms of how good it is.
Right.
So, you know, Gaia Maps, Google Maps, Spotify, Apple CarPlay. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
That's Allison's favorite mod, I guess. Then also on the inside, there is a secondary display that we put in for a front-facing approach angle camera. And I know that's cheating, but a lot of the newer vehicles come with an approach angle camera.
I would love one.
Oh, it's a great investment. I think it cost $50 on Amazon with the wiring kit, and that was great. Comes with a dedicated little display. We installed USB ports in it because, again, it is a 2003 vehicle, so we put some strong USB ports in there.
Yep.
Sorry, my dog is making a Floki. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
On the inside, that's pretty much it. I mean, the light bar has a little switch that you put on. On the inside, we didn't do too much. We didn't build like a platform or anything.
Right.
On the outside, then, the vehicle, we put Old Man Emu heavy-duty coils, 2886, 2896, and it is a V8, so, you know, having the heavy-duty coil at the front helped level it out with the back. The rear has quite a lot of weight on it because there's a coastal off-road steel bumper on it with 2 jerry cans and a spare tire. And we got all these modifications and did all these things with trial and error. We started with stock, and then we only put things on there as we saw necessary. So I know people say lockers before light bars, but literally the first thing we put on our 4Runner was a light bar. Because, and we were going to the northern Vancouver Island for a long overlanding trip, and we were going to be doing tons of night driving. So we really, really needed that, and I'm very glad we put that on.
Made sense at the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then came obviously the bigger tires in the lift because you realize that you need more clearance. So yeah, that spare tire at the back, we got stuck in a river, like the tire burst. We got a puncture, and then you get it out of the river. You're going uphill, removing the spare tire from the back of a 4Runner or a Tacoma. You have to lower that tire.
Yeah.
Like on a trail, you're dirty, you're exhausted, it's muddy. It is a huge pain. So relocating that rear tire was key. Having extra gasoline. I mean, the long trips that we go on, having extra gasoline and water is very helpful. So yeah, 285, 7017, big tires, quite broad. So I know a lot of people like pizza cutters because they cut through snow and ice and stuff, but the broad tire really helps with traction in mud with rocks and those kind of things. So
sand and all that.
Yeah, definitely. So those are Duratrack tires. Big fan of those tires. We had KO prior to that, and I have a lot of negative things to say about it. I know they're favorites for a lot of people, and I also have a story about that. I actually called a manufacturer and we talked about the different compound, and I was like found out eventually that depending on which factory they were coming from, their compound could be different. So I got annoyed at that and moved over to KO2. So there's Bilstein 5100 shocks on it. That actually came on the vehicle when we bought it. So I probably would get different shocks if I were to do it over, just heavier duty shocks. 5100's entry level type shocks, but I would definitely want heavier duty shocks. What else is there? LED lights that we put on the inside, and there's a whole lot of other things. What else? Oh yeah, the rock sliders. So we destroyed our. Yeah, you weren't even there. I come home one day and I'm like, yeah, I screwed up. I hit a rock. What are those called? Side steps?
Yeah.
Completely destroyed. Bent, destroyed. Luckily, very lucky, I didn't destroy the door frame because that can be extremely expensive and difficult to fix. So yeah, got rock sliders. As I said, we got things as we figured out that we needed them.
I think that's the best way to do it, right? I mean, I always tell people to go out, enjoy the vehicle, learn the capabilities, and then do your upgrades at that point. Because, I mean, there's lots of people who go out there and they'll get a Jeep and throw a big lift and 37s on and do a lot of things that they find out later on are not really necessary, right? So I'm a big believer in doing the vehicles in modifications in steps. I mean, if I could, maybe if it might be different if I could afford to go out and spend, 50 grand in accessories or something like that, but I can't. And I'm on a budget like every other, the average Canadian, right? So I'm a true believer
Yeah.
in doing it in steps.
And I think that for like people that are trying to get into this and don't know where to start, that's kind of intimidating when they see a big built up truck and think, oh my God, I need to have that to go out and do what you do. And you're like, no, you don't. You can start off small and you can start off with, just a regular car or a regular SUV and like you said, like just slowly take your time to upgrade as you need to. Yeah, when we started camping, we were in a RAV4 and we realized that when the lease on that vehicle ended that we wanted something a little bit bigger and a little bit more built, but we didn't start off that way. Got there slowly.
It started from stock.
Yeah. Same thing with our camping setup. You start off with a ground tent and some sleeping bags, and you grab the pillows off your bed and off you go with a cooler full of food, and you kind of figure it out as you go. And for the longest time, I think every time we went out camping, it was like, okay, come home, open Amazon. What am I buying today? There's always something else I can add.
There's always something,
like, the garbage system would be better if we did it like this, or how are we going to wash the dishes better? Because that time was terrible. And, oh my God, all the cardboard in the cooler full of ice got soaping like soggy wet. Like, how do I fix that? How do I like grow? So like the first time you go out camping, yeah, it might be a bit of a shit show, but like you have to do it and you have to go through that trial and error every single time. So whether that's with anything you do, and especially with the truck itself, it's, you don't need everything all at once, and you definitely can't afford to do it all at once.
Well, some people can, and good for them.
Yeah, if you can. But I mean, in reality, for majority of the four-wheeling that you and guys and I do, most of the time this truck's going back and forth to work or whatever, right? But there's, some dirt roads on there, and you're in 4 low sometimes. And like my Tacoma is small lift on it, and I've got 33s on it, and everything I've done to it, I've set up because of a need, right? So, whether it be the rack for the rooftop tent and the kayaks or whatever, but there's so many people believe that you have to spend all this kind of money, and you don't. For 90% of what people are doing, we don't need to have 37s or 40-inch tires. But mind you, sometimes I wish I could, so I could go play on some of those harder trails too, right? But it is what it is.
See, I like the idea of, obviously money permitting and space permitting, having multiple vehicles for different purposes. Yep. If I could, I would have and people always get surprised for some reason when I say this, I would have a Jeep built up for something like rock crawling and hard things, or a 4x4 or side by side. That serves a purpose. You're doing the 4x4ing for sport. You're doing it as fun. And then obviously for long overlanding trips, no offense to Jeep owners, but I don't want a Jeep. I want Toyota reliability. I want Toyota comforts. I want to be able to see outside of my windshield because, that's a Toyota thing apparently and not a Jeep thing. But, we've owned Jeeps. One of Allison's, was it your first vehicle? Was a Jeep? What was it?
It was a YJ, an 87 YJ that my dad got and worked on with my brother when he was a teenager and stuff to get it up and running. And we had a good fun summer with, no roof on it, no doors. And
Jeep's got a place, man. And then what was your other Jeep? That was a 92 YJ then we bought together? Yeah, that was another one. But my point being, you really, really don't need a lot to get started. You can go camping by foot. You don't even need a car. But if I could, or if I
don't understand that. You said hiking and camping.
I know. What a bizarre concept. I can't believe people do that. I know.
You can carry your stuff on your back.
Do people not realize that we invented the wheel ages ago?
Have they not seen this body? I am not made for hiking and camping.
It takes a lot of effort to maintain my structure, a lot of bacon.
But yeah, no, I agree that, if people just starting out, I always often tell people to drive their vehicle stock for 6 months and figure it out. The
Absolutely.
same thing goes with camping, right? It's quite often, you can go to even a secondhand store and grab camping equipment and dishes and silverware and stuff like that. And then kind of figure out what you need and then invest in a higher quality product as you figure out what you want. So
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you guys on that.
I think we're encouraging the wrong thing. I think we should tell everybody that it's awful out there. There's too many mosquitoes. It's disgusting. You're going to get lost. You're going to get hurt. Bears will eat you. So
Yes.
if anybody's listening to this podcast, stop going outside.
All the bridges on the Coquihalla they're all still wiped out. So you don't even bother trying to come to the interior of BC because you're not going to make it, right? So
no. I hear Spanish Banks is really nice this time of year. Go to the beach, hang out.
I also have to change that a little bit. If I do get some sponsors on, I got to make sure that you go to Red Bear Outdoors in Toronto and pick up all brand new gear there. But regardless, we are looking at with some advertising on the podcast. And it's the same thing that I'll tell, even if we have advertising on a podcast, I'll still tell people before you go talk to Mike and Matt at Red Bear or before you, wherever, I recommend people going, that still tell people that figure out what you want before you actually, go out and spend the money. Right. So.
Well, and that's it. You want to encourage them to have that good experience. Borrow some camping gear, go out with some friends, like drink some beer in the woods, see what you like, see what you don't like, what's important to you, what's not important to you, and then go and get those things.
And I think actually, now that I think about it too, Red Bear Outdoors in Toronto, I've talked to them. They've been on the podcast, 2, 3, 4 times. Great bunch of guys, but they've actually started renting. They said, everything you can buy from us, you can rent. So whether it be a rooftop tent, whether it be a camp stove, and that I think that's the perfect way, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Figure out if that's actually what you want, because maybe a rooftop tent might not be what you want. Maybe you want to go with one of those Gazelle pop-up tents or whatever, right? Like that.
Yeah, imagine
before spending
$2,000. Yeah, before you spend $2,000 on a rooftop tent. So again, we didn't buy a rooftop tent for that reason, because it was ridiculously expensive to get into one. And then our friend was like, hey, we are getting a camper. Why don't you guys take our rooftop tent? And that way you'll see what you like and what you don't like. And this tent is fantastic, but I know for a fact that I would rather prefer a hard shell. Mm-hmm. And there's reasons for that. But, even ground tenting, there is nothing wrong with ground tenting, but majority of the places that we camp now, it would not be fun to ground tent because there's rocks and there's riverbeds and there's, whatever you've got. It's just not a good place for ground tenting.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. So I've got something a little bit off topic for you guys. And I'm going to ask Allison first, because I haven't interviewed many husband and wife couples, overlanders. So I want to ask Allison, what advice would you give to guys with wives that want to get their wives out camping? And what advice would you give women about going out camping with guys? And then Anzal, you can answer the same questions after.
Okay.
That just popped into my mind.
It's a good question. It is a good question.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I do like it. It's so hard because there's so many different, different people and different women and different couples that enjoy doing different things. I think that keeping it easy and keeping it comfortable, starting out slowly, doing the parts that you like together, and then trying to figure out what parts you don't like. When it comes to comfort and beds and stuff like that, that idea that you can take blankets and pillows and sheets and put it on an air mattress. That's what we did for, the longest times before we got into sleeping bags and our pillows were too big. How do we make them smaller? Yeah. Talking about the bathroom situation, being honest about it, what it's like, how it is. And again, there's so many things to do to make that comfortable, and trying that. Not going out for too many nights all at once where you're now worried about okay, well, I haven't taken a shower in 4 days. What is that like? What is like, well, you don't need to do that. Go for one night, like shower before you leave, shower when you come back. And you don't need to, I guess, push it too hard and too out of your comfort zone. Even as far as like cooking and things like that, I realized that we're taking a stove. Everything we make at home, we can make out there. Yeah, we've realized that cooking raw meat in the wild is a little more inconvenient just for cleanliness factors, as far as chopping chicken and stuff like that is not the easiest thing to do. So you can do those things ahead of time, and you can prepare as much as you want ahead of time, and you can prepare as little as you want. Here's a packet of instant noodles or, some hot dogs, and there you go. So I guess not to try and overcomplicate it and do too much right off the bat. Like,
the whole point is to get out there and enjoy each other and enjoy nature, right? So yeah, by trying to make comfort for each other and having a little bit of, give and take on it, for sure.
And recognizing what your partner likes to do and what they don't like to do. Yeah. Okay, we're going to kayak out and, put everything we're going to wear for the next few days in our kayak and try and take it up the river. Like, with somebody that's never been kayaking before is probably not where you're going to start. But just, going to a place with pit toilets and maybe running water, just
that's
helps to go for a day trip, go for one night, keep it easy, find out what it is that really gets them going. Hey, sometimes it's having really good coffee in the morning. Well, you can make good coffee in the woods. It doesn't have to be, instant.
Oh, absolutely not. That is blasphemy. You gotta have good coffee. I don't care if you use river water. You need good coffee. But you're right. Anything else you wanted to add? Advice for men going with women, women going with men? Specific advice for women. I mean, there's not a lot of women in this hobby. And I mean, there's way more now. Yeah. Any advice specifically for women?
Take some bear spray with you and you'll be okay. I think there's, a lot of concerns on safety and whatnot, but I think most people we've met in the backcountry have been nice and friendly.
Yeah,
and as long as you're respectful of the area that you're in and, have the things that keep you safe, I don't think there should be any concern.
Yeah. Take a shotgun, take a bear spray.
Could be for the boyfriend or husband. You never know, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter who it is.
Have you got anything to add to that, Anzal?
Yeah. Okay. So advice for men going with women or starting to go. I think one of the key things I would say is to not push it too much. I find a lot of times guys more into overlanding or off-roading or camping, more women are getting into it, I find now. I think one key thing is just to not push it too much right at the beginning. Like I hear all the time about, oh yeah, I really want to go camping, but my wife hates it, or, my girlfriend hates it, or whatever. And it's like, well, you got to start slow and with somebody who enjoys similar interests as you, and kind of finding that middle ground, I guess, is it. And there's nothing wrong with a dude going off to do a thing that he likes doing without their partner. I mean, I'm very, very happy that we both enjoy doing this.
Yeah. Very, very lucky that way.
It's fantastic. We're a fantastic team.
Yeah.
And I guess to both men and women, one thing that we find very helpful is dividing some of the tasks. So, for example, I love cooking. So I usually cook, which is funny because on camera, a lot of the time, Allison ends up cooking.
I was going to say something about that, but I was like, okay.
No, it's true. It's just because I like recording a lot as well, right? So, yeah.
It just works out on what's kind of happened that
day.
And Anzal's driven a lot of it, so I filmed a lot of it. So now we've got to camp, and now he's got the camera, and I'm doing some of the other stuff.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I dividing a lot of the work makes very good sense, and you can decide that even before you go. So we have a camping checklist of things that we are in charge of packing, dividing some of those things, regardless of if you're going with a partner or a friend even. So, for example, I'm in charge of charging all the batteries for the cameras, the
Radios,
radio batteries. I do all of that. Allison preps the kitchen stuff.
Yep.
The bedding is Allison's job, the dog stuff. So like we divide those things. And when we get to camp, we set up camp very quickly because we know exactly who's doing what. I'm setting up the rooftop tent. Allison's doing the bedding once we get into it. I'm setting up the kitchen and the chairs. So makes a significant difference in division of labor, regardless of whether you're going with a friend or a partner.
I was going to say, I totally agree with everything that you guys are saying. And the only things I can really add to that is what you guys are talking about is also what makes a strong relationship. You're talking about communication. You're talking about sharing the duties and a mutual respect for each other. And I think that those things are key to a good relationship. So that's, I don't really have much more to add to it other than that. But
and also just growing and learning together, right?
Yeah.
We have spent so much time camping, and to this day, we're making little improvements here and there that, I feel like I spent too much time gathering firewood and it might have been a 2-person job. I don't know. Those kind of things are constantly like building together, learning together, growing together. So I think that makes a difference.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think a piece of advice I would have for women specifically might also be just like to try to show interest in some of those things that you may not have previously with an open mind. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Allison is very open-minded, and that helps us be. And you know what? Sometimes you try something and you don't like it, and that's cool, but you don't know until you try it. Right. So being open-minded, I find is a key piece that for everyone is so important.
My mom said that about beets, and I still didn't like them.
You know what? Fair enough, but you did try them.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And, you looking back at my previous relationship, my ex, we had to have a pit toilet, and now, you know what? That's fine. We go to places that have pit toilets. And that was just one of the things that was very important to her. And so obviously that became very important to me that, if that makes her a lot happier through the trip and allows her to enjoy it, that's just a little thing, right? So it's just all those little things add up, right? So I think we can all be a little bit more understanding of each other and go from there, right? So speaking of the camping food, what do you guys normally cook? Like, does it sort of depend on the day and how long the day's been, or do you guys go kind of full out?
Depends how long the trip is, I think.
Yeah. How creative we're feeling ahead of time and how many dishes everything's going to take. Like, okay, so I want to have this. I'm bringing a pot for it. What else can I cook in this pot? Okay, I'm bringing a frying pan. Okay, why? Do I need both the pot and the frying pan? What can I do in either or? And I think just trying to cut down on those things. So like once I'm already using that tool and bringing it, then working around that same kind of.
So it really depends how long we're going for. If we're going for a one-nighter, usually we like to take things that are quick and easy to prepare, I think. Whereas if we're going on a longer trip, I gotta have a steak, right? Steak and potatoes. Oh, it's got to be done. If you watch the latest video there, it's called Camping in the Grasslands, I believe.
Yep.
There's a very long segment of me cooking steak. I think a lot of people say that overlanding is just going out into the wild and cooking in remote places, and that's very much the truth. So if you can make you have nothing else to do. You're not going to sit around and watch TV, so you might as well cook a delicious meal.
Do you guys follow Dwayne from Just Jeeping Adventures?
Yes, I think so.
Got to check out some of his videos about cooking. Like we're talking, was it cinnamon toast or cinnamon bun toast? And there's all kinds of like some food that him and his wife cook. It's just absolutely mouthwater. It's just incredible, right?
Oh, right. That's the white Jeep, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember them. Yeah. No, we watched their videos. Yeah.
Yeah. And some people go all out. And then there's, I asked Gary from BC the same question. He's like, yeah, you just grab a smoky and sit around the fire. Right.
That is the most G thing I've ever heard. You know what? You mentioned their videos, Just Jeepin', and I recall seeing a video not long ago, and I think it was with Birria Tacos, and that was a great video. I loved watching that. Yeah. And we get inspiration from all kinds of places. So yeah, it just depends how long we were going for. But I like the idea of spending the time to enjoy cooking and spending time with your partner to like come up with something delicious that you can sit down and enjoy and relax. Yeah.
Fire ban, and you can't just
make a smoky.
Yeah, exactly.
So all of a sudden you're like, that easy meal now changes.
Yeah. I'm trying to get more but I'm trying to do more prep work at home so I can enjoy a good meal out there. And I'm trying to become more of an outdoor cook.
But see,
I think the prep work is a big thing.
That's why you gotta make steak, because there is almost no prep work. You just gotta take a steak and throw some salt and pepper on it, maybe some Montreal steak spice. You don't even need oil if it's a fatty steak, and you just throw it on the pan and it's good to go.
I was out in the fall with a friend of mine, and she had a rack that went over the fire, and we cooked our steaks over the grill, over the fire, over the rack. And that was I hadn't done that before, and it was just so good. It was just so different, right? But it was quite interesting. So
it's taking that like barbecue to the next level.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So you guys have been all over the province and into Washington State a little bit. And that, how did you decide where to go? Do you like have a huge list of places like I do, and you just try and whittle them down, or it's just sort of?
Yeah, pretty much. It's, again, finding out how much time do we have? How far do we want to push it? Are we ready to drive 6 hours, 8 hours? Or do we just want to do 2 hours at a time? Sometimes, I guess, when we went on our like big Northern Ireland trip, and that was in October, and it rained every single day.
It was miserable.
And it got to a point where setting up and taking down and moving camp daily in the rain was awful. And for a while after that, we don't want to do that. We want to get to camp. We want to set up. We want to stay here. I don't want to be bouncing around.
And which is what we end up doing a lot of the times. But if you're feeling miserable, then there's no point, right?
So, you can talk about your huge list of places you want to
I have a massive list of places. And it's interesting because the more, I guess, the longer the trip is, the more I plan for it and the more we both spend time on it. So we both open our computer, go on Gaia, we open up Google Maps, and we create a list of what places we want, like would be must see, nice to see, where are we going to fill up on gas, how long we anticipate go, all the stuff. How much water do you need, right? Like sometimes you got to plan that stuff out depending on where you're going. Mm-hmm, so totally. Some of the trips require a lot of planning and backup plans. And okay, what if this spot doesn't work? What if that spot doesn't work? So you mentioned that Chilcotin and Fraser trip at the beginning. With that one, we were supposed to take that ferry. Is it called Big Bar Ferry?
Yep.
I'm so mad, Wes. To this day, I'm so pissed off. Man, when you get on that road, there's a sign that says call this number to check if the ferry's running.
Yeah.
Right? And I called and she said, yep, the ferry's running. And we drive so far.
It's like 80 clicks or 100 clicks or something, isn't it? To the ferry?
Yeah. It's a long time. Anyways, we get there and the ferry's running for foot passengers, not for vehicles, because the river's too high or too low or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So in that kind of situation, having a solid backup plan or two is very helpful. In other places, I find the shorter trips, we plan way less. It's just, we know where we're going. And then whatever happens when we get there, the point is just to go explore. We recently, again, went to Grizzly Falls and the Hot Lutch area and the Hot Lutch Lake area. And that was just, hey, let's go and explore some offshoots and spend some time just messing about. Though we knew where we kind of wanted to go, majority of it is just, let's go see it. And though there is this large list of places to see, a lot of it just ends up being,
how much time do we have?
yeah, how much
today,
time do we have?
this weekend? Yeah.
The long trips, though, I do meticulously plan very, very carefully with backup plans and stuff, because you don't want to go 800 kilometers from home and realize that, oh, I don't have a backup plan.
Definitely. Yeah. Especially, with BC being on fire half the season and stuff like that, right? But I do love that you guys plan it together. That is something that, I find really interesting and really neat, because rather than just, Angel just planning it and Allison saying where we going kind of idea, right? I think that's key in making it enjoyable for both, because not everybody likes the same things, and if there's something that that Allison sees that she's interested in, you can add it to the list. And I think that's really key in being able to travel as a couple, is being able to both be involved in the planning.
Yeah, and your priorities can be sometimes different as well, right? Like if one of the camping trips we realized, one of the longer overlanding trips, we realized that Allison was kind of hoping to go chill by a river and cool off and swim. And I'm feeling, super adventurous. Like, no, I want to push on. So you got to kind of it's helpful to come together and bring your expectations together of what you're hoping to accomplish. And then you can talk about, compromises. But if you just plan a trip and the other person's like, well, I just want to sit by a lake, you're going to be pretty disappointed when you get there and be like, okay, let's go. And your partner's sitting going like, nah, man, I'm soaking my feet in this water. So I think that is crucial to plan together. Also, our skill sets, right? Allison has certain skills, and the way that she thinks is different from the way that I think, and that's very helpful.
No way, really?
We are not merged together as one person.
People do. I was going to say women, men do think differently, but yes, people do think differently overall. So how does that affect, what her strengths and weaknesses are, right? And she knows what yours are. Yeah.
Well, she knows that I have zero sense of math and how to calculate kilometers. So she'll sit here and be like, so you think you can go this entire way with one tank of gas? And our 4Runner is a gas guzzler, to say the very least. And Allison's like doing all this math, and to me it's like rocket science of like, okay, this many kilometers, this, if you're going 30 kilometers an hour on these switchbacks, and your vehicle's consuming 19 liters per 100 kilometers uphill, you're going to consume this much gas. And I'm just like, bro, let's just go. But that's been handy, because there have been a couple of times at least that we've come dangerously close to empty tank. And then Allison's like, we have a jerry can full of gas for this reason. So
yeah, definitely.
I mean, British Columbia is so big and so wild. You can go so far without seeing a gas station if you really want to. And we've definitely done that, and it's been fantastic.
That's great. So the last question that we ask every guest on the 4 Canada podcast is, what Canadian would you like to listen to on the podcast?
Have you spoken to Brittany from her adventure life?
Not yet. She is on my list.
Yeah. How many women have you had on the show, Wes?
We've actually...
I'm asking that in a cheeky way, by the way.
Yeah. How many guests have I had? Female guests have I had on the show? We've had, actually not too bad. I've been trying to include more and more women. And of course, with Trisha being my co-host, she's actually a guest on the show. And we've had, I'm going to say probably 20%. 25% of the guests have been female.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is a mostly male-dominated kind of hobby, right? Yep. And we're finding more and more women are getting into it. But no, Brittany and her partner, and kids, we've hung out with them, and fantastic people to talk to. So, I would love to hear more from her.
Definitely will hit her up for sure. So
I mean, you've already spoken to G, and that's
yep.
he's already illuminated us on his thinking. So yeah, that would be my next nomination, I guess.
Yeah, G's a great guy for sure. So
yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely.
I know Brittany is on my list for sure. I do follow her on Instagram and watch some of her stuff and her YouTube videos as well too. And yeah, I definitely want to get more women on board, because that's one thing that right from day one is something that I was trying to make happen, is have more female guests, because I think we're starting to see that more and more, and they've got a different perspective on it. And that's one of the reasons for having Trisha on as well too, right? She's got a different perspective. She's obviously a female, and she's also from Ontario, and she's a Jeeper, and that's kind of the total opposite of me, right? So plus people can get tired of listening just to me all the time, right? So it's good to have a female laugh in there as well too. So
yeah. I usually always end up talking way more than Allison because I'm just more talkative. But yeah, no, I think it would be great to hear from Brittany as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we really want to thank you guys for coming on board, and I'm really looking forward to this next episode. You got 10 days to drop it so I can see what happened. Once again, we're talking to Anzal and Allison from Cascadia Overland Crew. Got to check them out on YouTube, on Instagram. They've got a great little dog named Floki, and their adventures all around BC on their 4Runner. And guys, it's been a pleasure. I always love talking to new people. And next time you're up in Kamloops, you got to look me up. I'll give you guys some good trails, and we'll get a little higher into the mountains next time.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thanks so much for having us. It's been a great chat. Great chatting with you.
Yeah, it was really nice chatting with you. And hopefully next time, this time we're pretending we're around a campfire. Next time we'll actually be around a campfire.
There we go. When we're allowed to have fires again in BC.
Yeah. Precisely.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys for coming. Yeah, exactly. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.